Good afternoon. Welcome to the Forex Pro Charts weekly trade results for the week of May the 1st, 2011. This week is a little bit unusual. We're going to take a look at several charts, but we're not going to be able to report any pips for our results, and I'll show you why as we go through. So first we're going to look at the Euro GBP chart, and that's the one sitting right here. This is the hourly chart, and you can see that price fell quite strongly on Friday, and that price closed down here at right at the 60-minute armpit. This is the 60-minute armpit at 0.8756. The risk here looks small, and indeed it is. It's about 15 pips. Now remember that a pip on the EG is worth about 1.6. So your risk of 15 pips is actually more like a risk of $25, but that works for your profit as well, but it's just a factor that you need to keep in mind when you're trading the Euro GBP. So we see price move down very strongly here and has reached this armpit, and actually price is still below the armpit. So some of you may have taken the trade on Friday, or if you don't normally trade Friday afternoons, as we don't, you may not have captured that trade and seen that trade, but it's still not too late probably to take the trade if you get in very quickly on Sunday afternoon. Now this zone has achieved its 3-to-1 ratio. If you take a look at the daily time frame, you will see that the zone has achieved its 3-to-1 ratio, and this is the first visit to the zone. And it has, I did leave strongly when it first left the zone. In fact, let's go ahead and take a look at the daily chart for the EG so that we can see. We're going to take a look at the daily chart for that we're going to be using in our analysis for this week. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so this is the EG chart, and we're looking at this zone right here. Let's bring that up a little bit. As you can see, we had price form this zone recently, and price moved fairly strongly out of the zone, moved all the way up into, and I believe even above, this zone that we see right at the top of this daily chart, and then came back down very, very strongly over the last several days. So the zone had easily achieved the 3-to-1 ratio and really had more achieved it. Let's take a look at the weekly real quick. Okay, so here we're looking at the weekly chart just so you can get a better feel and see that the ratio is well above 3-to-1. And you also see that price spiked through this zone last week. Actually, this would have been considered almost the second revisit to the zone, as we discussed. Price had come up here and just almost reached that 5-minute armpit. That 60-minute armpit. Was stopped by this trend wall here, then moved all the way back down and came back up. So for that reason, and because of what we considered an excessive risk, we did not post a trade alert on this price movement this past week. So anyway, price did come up here, did spike through that zone, and you see that it's going to be crosshatched in this upcoming week, and then moved down. So wanted to show you the weekly chart so that you could see the reward to risk ratio here, and that it is, we talk all the time about that 3-to-1 reward to risk ratio, and that we had achieved it on this particular zone right here. Sorry. So coming back to the results chart, you can see, as I said, that this is a trade that we can take and that we will take, are taking. It's too early yet, though, to tell whether this trade is successful or not. Remember, when you set up your trade, that you're setting it up to initially achieve the 20 pip bounce that we get off of the 20-minute armpit. 60-minute armpit. I'm sorry. And then we're moving our stop to break even or very close to break even. If you can get some discussion on that by looking back at our previous analysis on our webpage. You can get some discussion of different ways to manage your trade, but the basic concept of the Forex Pro Charts trade is to go ahead and grab the 20 pip bounce, that we so often see off of this 60-minute armpit, then move our stop to break even or close to break even, and then continue to manage our trade for any additional gains that are received. Now, the only cautionary note that I see in this particular is this trend wall running through, so we could see price either bounce around before it takes one direction or another, or this trend wall could act as resistance. But again, our risk is so low at 15 pips that we feel like we can take that risk. You need to, of course, assess it against your personal trade plan and risk tolerance. We feel like we can take that risk on this. This is the first revisit to the zone. Prices moved down nicely, as we like to see, and we think that we will at least get the 20 pip bounce out of it. So that is the Euro GBP. That is the only trade call that we have this past week. And I'm going to show you why, because if you look at the charts, you may think that we should have had one or two others. So let's go ahead and take a look at those pair. Okay, so here we are looking at the GBP USD, and we're looking at the hourly chart, and we see that price came down into a support zone. Support zone had the weekly armpit running through it, and we see that price came down, bounced very nicely off of the 60-minute armpit, which had a trend wall running right along with it, bounced very nicely up to and beyond the daily armpit for a nice little, I believe this was about a 50 pip gain. Then came back down, bounced again, and then eventually came and went through this zone. Many of our traders may well be wondering, this was the first revisit to this zone. Why did we not post an alert on this after the trade worked out well? Did they miss out? Well, if you're always looking for the trades you might have missed, then you'll see a lot of them, because, as you know, we can't catch all of them. But let's go ahead and take a look at the daily chart on the GU and see if you can see why we did not post a trade alert on this trade. As you look at the daily chart, you can see here's the zone in question, and what is the first thing you notice? And I just talked about it when we talked about the other, I talked about the Euro GBP, the 3-to-1 reward to risk ratio. Here we have one, maybe two, 2-to-1 reward to risk ratio, and the 3-to-1 is just such an important odds enhancer that we do not take the trades if we have not gotten the 3-to-1, seen the 3-to-1 ratio. Now, of course, you are free to adapt our system to your particular trading personality and style, and we possibly had some traders who are a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more risk tolerant, who would have seen this weekly armpit here and the trend wall and decided that it was worth it, they could get at least the 20 pips. And as that turned out, they probably were right. But as you notice, then price did go down well through this zone. So we did have a little bit higher risk than we like to take on this particular pair, so we did not take it, and would not recommend. As our philosophy in posting the trade alerts is that we post where there is the highest probability of success and the lowest risk of loss, and that's how you become a successful trader, and that's the philosophy that we use when we're posting our trade alerts. Now, traders who are experienced with our system and who have demoed it extensively, some of them may make decisions and take slightly different trades than what we might take in certain circumstances. But we think it's really important that you pay attention to that 3-to-1 reward to risk ratio. The times that we have seen price go through that 60-minute armpit without achieving the 20 pip bounce are almost invariably when we do not have that 3-to-1 ratio. So yes, more times than not, you'll see price bounce off that 60-minute armpit no matter what the ratio is. It's what makes it such a good trade. But more times than not, you can still make you a losing trader. We want to increase that probability exponentially by waiting for that 3-to-1 reward to risk ratio. So that was the case with the GU. Let's take a look at the CAD. For the CAD, we saw much the same thing. Price moved up, came here to the 60-minute armpit did bounce nicely, came back up, bounced a little bit again, came back up, bounced all the way down to the daily armpit, and then came back up, and we're still not sure exactly where price will go on this pair. But again, this zone did not have the 3-to-1 ratio that we're looking for. Let's take just a very quick look at the daily chart. And we can see here that the zone in question does not have anywhere near the 3-to-1 ratio. It's got about a 1-to-1 ratio. So even though otherwise the zone looks nice in terms of risk and so forth, the way price moved out and back up, we did not call an alert and we did not take a trade on this. Now, again, if you were to ignore that option, there's an instance where you may have been successful, but you have to keep in mind that you know, sometimes your losses can be more than those 20 pips that you're getting, and so if you're doing, you know, 50-50, you're going to be losing money. Whereas if you stick with the most consistent odds enhancers, the 3-to-1 ratio and so forth, if you stick with those, you're going to almost invariably get your 20 pips and often a great deal more, and your risks are going to be so slight that you're going to be a successful Forex trader, which after all is what we all want. So that is our results video for the week that began May the 1st. We will be posting our analysis video later on this weekend, and you can see that on YouTube as well. I'm not sure which pair we're going to be analyzing this week. I haven't completed my work on it yet. So we'd encourage you to come back later tonight or tomorrow morning to take a look at the analysis video for the week. Of course, for more information or to subscribe to our full analysis and charting services, please go to www.forexprocharts.com. You can sign up for a one-week demo where you can take advantage of our educational information, the information on our trading system, our full analysis on 10 major currency pairs, and you can see what Forex Pro Charts is all about for a week. Thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you again.